Hello, beautiful bookish people. My name is Hannah, and today I just want to read some Shakespeare plays. Whoa!
Yep, that's me.
So, fun fact about me is I love Shakespeare, and I have actually, this is my biggest flex of all time, read every single Shakespeare play when I was in high school. She was a nerd. She was quirky. She was not like other girls. But don't worry, we've matured and grown past that. But I thought it would be fun to revisit some Shakespeare plays I've loved, I've hated, and some I felt meh about, and see if my opinion has changed as a 23-year-old woman. So let's see. So the Shakespeare plays I have chosen are Julius Caesar. This is the one I did not like, but to be completely fair to this Shakespeare play, I only read it in school. The next is Macbeth, which is one of the most famous tragedies, of course, but was just never my favorite. And when I was doing my Shakespeare tier ranking, everybody said I was wrong about this play. So we'll just see. We'll just see if I was wrong. And for the longest time, my favorite Shakespeare play, The Tempest. Woohoo! And so I'm going to be rereading to see if my opinion has changed, evolved, grown, or if I'm the exact same person from high school, which would be scary. But I think I'm going to go ahead and start with Julius Caesar. Shout out to Tom, who is Megabook's boyfriend, who always said, Hannah, Julius Caesar is really good. So come on, Tom, I want to see. We're going to see if Julius Caesar is better outside of school, okay? Okay. Wow. Oh my lord. Alright, so I have just finished Act 3 of Julius Caesar, and I'm here to inform you once and for all, drum roll please, it's better than I remember. I don't know what it is about school that makes you overanalyze every little thing, that once you are out of an academic setting, things just become better. I don't know what to tell you. But there were so many little things that I loved about this beginning act of this play. So we kind of start off this play, and there's a conspiracy that Julius Caesar will become king because Mark Antony drunkenly said, I want to give you the crown. And so it starts this conversation among the Senate that his ambition is going to kill him, and there's a conversation between Brutus and, who was it? Somebody else. And Cassius, where Cassius is trying to convince Brutus to essentially kill Julius Caesar at a Senate meeting, and he says, I saved him from falling into an ice patch, and I was the one who saved him, so how unfair is it that he gets to be this ruler? He's not a god, he's not descendant from heaven, he is just like us, and what gives him the power to become king? So there's this undertone of jealousy and justification for all of your acts. And also there's these cool foreshadowings, a soothsayer comes and tells Julius Caesar, beware the Ides of March, which everybody kind of knows about. And then Julius Caesar's wife has a dream about him being killed and begs him not to go. These continual things that keep happening that are bad omens, that maybe you shouldn't go to the Senate meeting, Julius Caesar. But alas and alack, we all know what happens. At the end of Act 2, he gets killed. I love the way that Shakespeare frames these two sides. So there's the side that of conspirators that want to take down Julius Caesar, and then there's the other side that are obviously fueled by revenge, that can't bear the thought of Rome being ruled by anybody besides Julius Caesar. That's where you have Mark Antony and Octavian, and then you have Brutus, and then basically any other C name in this play, they're against Julius Caesar. Makes it easy to remember. obviously there's a big mistake that Brutus makes after killing Julius Caesar, is letting Mark Antony, like his right-hand man, Julius Caesar's right-hand man, talk at his funeral. And there's this really good speech. It's famous, everybody knows it, and it mirrors Brutus's speech. So when Mark Antony speaks, he's not saying anything that would technically disrespect Brutus. He's just framing it in such a way that says, if Caesar was this ambition and Brutus is an honorable man, then why Caesar turned down the crown when I offered it to him? If we're to believe what Brutus is saying, and Brutus is an honorable man, I don't know why we would say that, then why do his actions, why do Julius Caesar's actions say another thing? And it's so good. You know what I'm saying? I love it. I do. I really do. I think with some space and maybe a little more maturing on my part, I think what had happened in school is like, oh, this is politics. But no, if you boil down the politics in Julius Caesar's, it's just people acting out of revenge and emotions. And I think that is one of the most interesting aspects of this play. I'm going to try to read Act 4 and Act 5, and I will get back to you, because I do know this is the part in the play where it's war. So it might take a left field. I don't know. We'll see. All right. We're back, and we have officially finished Julius Caesar. And you know what? It is way better than I remembered it. But yes, it's accurate that Acts 4 and 5 are way more battles than I anticipated. It's very much strategy and people killing themselves and laying on their own daggers, and I am sure that if you saw it on the stage, it would be way more entertaining. Does that sound bad? Seeing people kill each other on stage is way more entertaining, but you know what I mean? Like, it's fun to kind of take the speeches of Act 3 kind of slowly and see how Shakespeare uses words that sound like they're honoring Brutus when actually they're planting it in the plebeian's head that maybe Brutus is not honorable. It's fun to see how Shakespeare uses words to convey irony, versus Act 4 and 5 are basically just battle strategy moments, which is fine. The ghost of Julius Caesar does show up, and it is fun. If you are ever in a Shakespeare play, always listen to the ghost. What is the Shakespeare lesson from Julius Caesar? If your wife has a bad dream and says you should stay home from work, you probably should. Oh my gosh, I just thought of something that correlates to Macbeth. So Brutus kept calling Mark Antony like the arm to Julius Caesar's head, and they kept saying Julius Caesar's the head, and if we take care of the head, we don't need to worry about the body. And just like that, as soon as they chop off the head, guess what? 3 people emerge. Is that a reference to the Hydra? You know, that Greek creature that when you chop off the head, 3 emerge? Just some food for thought, okay? Welcome to the next day of reading Shakespeare plays. We have just read Act 1 and 2 of Macbeth, and I kind of just want to get my feelings out there. I want to discuss, analyze, and just generally get my thoughts out. So, the setup of Macbeth is a battle essentially has just been won in Scotland, and the king, Duncan, has traveled back to his beloved soldier's house or castle, Macbeth. And Macbeth has just received word in the midst of battle from these 3 witches that you will become the king of Scotland. We see a crown in your future. But imagine it, you know, rhyming a little bit more. And Macbeth has essentially sent a letter to his wife and said, like, this is what they said, I don't know what's happening, but you can see that both of their ambition is kind of taking hold of them. And the fatal flaw of this play is essentially when Macbeth takes fate into his own hands and decides to kill the king so that he can take the crown. And a lot of people say that Lady Macbeth is the reason that Macbeth kind of killed Duncan, but I think it's pretty clear that Macbeth's ambition is already catching up with him. I wouldn't say Lady Macbeth is the reason, I just would say she's an encouraging factor to it. And she's a fascinating woman, that is for sure. After it's all said and done and Macbeth comes back with these like bloody hands and daggers, she's like, "You stupid fool. Why are you bringing these daggers back to our chambers? Do you know nothing about crime? Have you ever listened to a true crime podcast? You plant the weapon on somebody else." And then she goes and does it. She kind of has this speech about Macbeth has this kind-hearted nature. He's too tied to mortality, and so she has to do the dirty work. And that's what their relationship is. But I do remember why I did not enjoy this play as much. I read this by myself, and I do think Macbeth would be a better play to have a classroom discussion with because of like the three witches and their monologues. It would be good to hear other people's interpretations. There's a lot of things that I think are actually going over my head. There's a lot of images. There's images of a raven and all these things that I think it would be good to have someone explain it to you. Because I am enjoying Lady Macbeth's parts. I love an ambitious woman and a woman that pretends to faint when she finds out the king is dead. What? Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. I have an alibi. I was with my husband the entire night. I'm not gonna lie, I don't think the play gets interesting. Maybe this is just me until Lady Macbeth enters the scene. Because it's just about that relationship that kind of antagonize each other to go down a wrong road. And the moral of the story is don't chance fate. Just let it happen. Live your life. Live, laugh, love. Alrighty then. So we have officially finished Macbeth. And I'm not gonna lie to you. We are an honest reviewer. We're an honest channel. We're an honest human, and I don't think my opinions have changed on Macbeth. It's still a good tragedy, it's one I admire, but it's not a favorite. I think I would still prefer to read Hamlet over Macbeth in the future. I mean, I appreciate a good descent into madness. I appreciate the sort of role reversal that we see with Lady Macbeth and Macbeth. But I want to talk about how, like, I think this play is filled to the brim with the opening line from the witches, and it's foul is fair and fair is foul, meaning it's kind of it's explored a little bit more in this scene that we never see from any adaptation, from a lady called Macduff's lady, her Macduff's wife, and it's essentially talking about how there's no good man. There is no person that is all good and all evil. There's this idea of taking down Macbeth, but the person who's replacing him still has his faults. There's never going to be a good and true leader. You are given what your lot is. And it might not seem fair, but that's life. You have to work with what you got and don't chance fate. We're going to talk about the fall of ambition. To be honest, I'd rather read Julius Caesar for that. So far in this reading vlog, we have appreciated a new Shakespeare play, Julius Caesar, felt the same about one, and we'll see if I will continue to love The Tempest. The Tempest was my favorite play in high school, so we'll see if I still feel the same way. Here we go. So I'm so sorry I did not update you, but I've actually finished The Tempest, so let's go. Just as I can acknowledge, like, objectively, I can say that Macbeth is a really good play, just not for me. I think The Tempest is the same thing, but for the opposite reason. It hits so many of my buttons. I love how it plays with this idea of dreams and destiny, and I love like the history behind it, because this is, fun fact, the more you know, this is Shakespeare's last play. So a lot of critics say that the main character Prospero, when he gives away his sort of magic at the end, is Shakespeare saying goodbye to the stage. He didn't give the globe purpose, the globe gave him purpose, and I love stuff like that. I really do. But I also think like what this play does really well is analyze how ghosts and spirit kind of play in a factor to our life, versus like Macbeth, you see ghosts as a subplot, or it's moving the plot along because it enforces guilt into our main protagonist. But in the Tempest, it really tries to analyze how ghosts affect us as humans, and I find that stuff way more interesting. And I think there is an objective, like, people are not going to like the Tempest, but all of these little conversations that it has around the Tempest really are kind of my favorite thing in the world. So I understand like why high school Hannah loved this play, but probably couldn't describe why she loved this play. But yes, I can say it is not the best Shakespeare play, but I still think it is one of my favorites. So that's really interesting to me to see how my perspective has changed. So if we want to compare myself to my high school self, we have Julius Caesar, which I gained a completely new perspective on. I think it's a really good play, and I now understand why we teach it in schools. Then we have Macbeth, which honestly still have not changed my opinion on. So we've grown from high school, but not that much. And then we have the Tempest, and I'm able to understand a little bit more why my high school self loved it so much. I'm still fascinated by dreams, and anytime there's a dream subplot in any book that I read today, I'm like, yes, sign me up. So this has honestly been really interesting. I'm glad I kind of reread these plays without the like academic pressure of school, because sometimes I truly think it can take pleasure out of especially something like Shakespeare, because you're never able to get what you need out of it. It's always trying to get something out of it for a paper, and that's just never fun. So anywho, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time. Keep reading and all that jazz. There's like this conspiracy, obviously. I don't know if anybody knows. Wait, what? What am I saying? Wait, I think I messed up. Wait, oh my gosh, I've been talking for 9 minutes about Julius Caesar. Who would have thought? I appreciate a good descent into madness. What? Work, party, ew. Works for me.